In Dubai's glittering marina district, where glass towers gleam under the desert sun, Kareem Al Mansoor lived a life most people could only imagine. At 34, he was one of the city's youngest and most successful real estate developers. His company built luxury apartments and penthouses that overlooked the Persian Gulf, and his name was whispered with admiration in elite circles. He lived in a mansion filled with marble floors, gold-trimmed furniture, and art pieces flown in from Europe. To the world, Kareem was the image of discipline and success, a man who had built an empire through hard work and intelligence. But those close to him knew he was also controlling, obsessed with perfection, and feared failure more than anything. His wife, Layla, was the jewel of his life. She had once been a model, known for her beauty and calm demeanor. Together, they were Dubai's golden couple, appearing at charity events and high-end galas, their smiles lighting up every camera. When Layla announced her pregnancy, Kareem saw it as another perfect addition to his life story. He showered her with gifts, hired private chefs to prepare her meals, and even booked a prenatal spa retreat to ensure she stayed relaxed. He spoke proudly to friends about becoming a father, telling them how the baby would inherit everything he had built. Yet behind his confident smile, a quiet anxiety had begun to grow. Kareem had always believed control was the key to happiness, but pregnancy changed things. Layla became distant, more private, and often avoided conversations about her health or doctor visits. She spent long hours away from home, sometimes claiming to visit her mother, sometimes saying she needed space. Kareem told himself not to worry, but the unease wouldn't fade. He began noticing small details: calls she took in another room, messages she deleted quickly, a shift in her tone when he mentioned his father. Though he never caught her in a lie, the silence between them deepened. At night, Kareem lay awake beside her, his mind running in circles. To the world, they remained flawless, a symbol of love and power in the city of wealth. But in the quiet corners of his mind, a dark suspicion began to take root, one that would soon lead him down a path from which there was no return. As Layla's pregnancy entered its 7th month, Kareem's thoughts were no longer peaceful. He felt trapped between love and suspicion, unsure which emotion controlled him more. Each time he looked at Layla's growing belly, he felt pride mixed with unease. He told himself he only wanted reassurance, but deep down he feared betrayal. His mind clung to every small inconsistency, twisting them into signs of deceit. When he finally decided to order a DNA test, he convinced himself it was just precaution, something any careful husband might do. He contacted a private clinic that guaranteed absolute confidentiality and arranged for samples to be collected discreetly. For 2 weeks, Kareem lived in a fog of anxiety. He attended meetings, smiled for interviews, and continued to post photos with Layla on social media, but none of it felt real. Each hour that passed felt like a countdown to truth. When the envelope arrived at his office, thick and sealed, he stared at it for nearly an hour before opening it. The first line confirmed what he feared most. He was not the father of the unborn child. His hands trembled as he read further. The next line hit harder than anything he had ever imagined. The DNA matched someone closely related to him, a parent or sibling. Kareem demanded a retest, unable to accept what he saw. The second report returned identical results. The impossible became undeniable. The child belonged to his own father, Mohammed Al Mansoor. Kareem felt the air leave his lungs. He sat in silence, staring at the document, his mind spinning with images of Layla and his father together. The betrayal cut deeper than any wound he could imagine. In the following days, Kareem's world began to collapse internally. He continued to act normal, hosting dinners, attending business meetings, and pretending everything was fine. But inside, he was unraveling. He stopped eating properly, his sleep turned restless, and his temper grew short. He avoided his father, avoiding any interaction that might confirm the truth. Whenever Layla smiled or spoke softly to him, he felt a wave of bitterness. What had once been love now burned like poison in his chest. He no longer saw her as his wife, but as the symbol of his deepest humiliation, and that feeling was beginning to consume him entirely. The night Kareem decided to end everything began like any other. The air was warm, the sea breeze gentle against the glowing skyline. From the outside, nothing seemed unusual about the couple's evening plans. Kareem told Layla he wanted to celebrate her final weeks of pregnancy, with a quiet dinner at their private beach villa. He arranged everything to perfection: soft music, candlelight, and her favorite dishes. To anyone else, it looked like a gesture of love. But in Kareem's mind, it was a carefully planned farewell. Layla arrived just after sunset, dressed in a light floral gown that floated in the warm air. Kareem greeted her with a smile that masked the storm behind his calm expression. Throughout dinner, he spoke softly, complimenting her, pretending everything was normal. But his heart pounded with every passing minute. On the table beside her glass was the drink he had prepared earlier, orange juice laced with a strong sedative. He watched closely as she sipped it, unaware of what she was consuming. Within half an hour, her speech began to slow, her eyelids heavy. When Layla tried to stand, her body failed her. Kareem caught her gently, leading her to the bedroom. For a moment, he paused, staring down at her resting figure. The sound of the waves outside mixed with the faint hum of the air conditioner. 1,000 thoughts raced through his mind: images of his father, the DNA report, the betrayal he couldn't erase. Every emotion collided at once: anger, shame, heartbreak, and the crushing weight of humiliation. Then, without hesitation, he picked up a pillow and pressed it over her face. It was quick but silent, her last breaths muffled beneath his trembling hands. When it was over, Kareem stepped back, gasping for air as though he were the one suffocating. For a long time, he stood motionless, staring at the stillness of the room. When he finally moved, it was with mechanical precision. He placed Layla's body in the bathtub, filled it with water, and arranged the scene to look like a tragic accident. By dawn, he called emergency services, his voice trembling with practiced grief. To everyone else, he appeared as a heartbroken husband. But behind that performance lay the darkest secret of his life, one he believed he could hide forever. When the police arrived at the beach villa, they found Kareem sitting on the floor near the bathroom, his face pale and eyes swollen from fake tears. Layla's body was discovered submerged in the bathtub, her lifeless hand resting on the edge. At first glance, it looked like a tragic accident. The officers noted the slippery tiles and assumed she might have lost balance. Kareem told them she had gone to take a bath and that he found her unresponsive minutes later. His performance was convincing. He appeared shaken, his voice cracked, and his grief seemed genuine. But trained investigators noticed things that didn't quite add up. The bathroom showed no signs of a struggle, yet faint bruises were visible around Layla's mouth and neck. Her phone, placed neatly on the counter, had no recent activity, which struck detectives as odd. When the autopsy results came back, traces of a powerful sedative were found in her system. The drowning theory no longer made sense. Layla had been unconscious long before she entered the water. The case shifted from accidental death to suspicious homicide, and Kareem instantly became the prime suspect. Detectives began examining Kareem's recent behavior. They retrieved surveillance footage showing he had been alone at the villa all day before Layla arrived. His phone records revealed calls to a private laboratory in the weeks before the murder. This led investigators to search his office, where they found the hidden DNA report. The document exposed a shocking truth. Kareem had known his unborn child wasn't his. The father was his own father, Kareem Al Mansoor. The discovery sent shockwaves through Dubai's high society. The Al Mansoor family, once seen as powerful and untouchable, was suddenly at the center of a scandal. When questioned, Mohammed admitted to having a close friendship with Layla, but denied any romantic relationship. Still, the DNA evidence was undeniable. It confirmed his biological connection to the unborn child, turning the investigation into both a murder case and a family disgrace. Kareem's carefully built life began to crumble overnight. Investors pulled out of his company, his employees resigned, and the media flooded every channel with the scandal. Yet despite everything, Kareem refused to confess. He claimed the reports were fabricated and insisted he had loved his wife. But the evidence told another story, one of anger, betrayal, and a calculated act of revenge. The trial of Kareem Al Mansoor drew international attention, filling Dubai's courtrooms with reporters, cameras, and spectators eager to witness the downfall of one of the city's most respected men. When he was brought before the judge, Kareem appeared calm, dressed in a tailored suit, his expression unreadable. The prosecution presented the DNA reports, the toxicology findings, and security footage from the night of the murder. Every piece of evidence painted the same picture. A husband who had discovered the ultimate betrayal and chosen to erase it through violence. The courtroom fell silent as the prosecutor read his confession aloud, a cold and detailed description of how he planned and carried out the killing. Despite overwhelming proof, Kareem never expressed remorse. He sat motionless, eyes fixed on the floor, as witnesses described Layla's final days. Some called him a monster. Others said he was a broken man driven to insanity by humiliation. When the judge finally delivered the verdict, Kareem showed no reaction. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The ruling marked the end of a dynasty that had once symbolized wealth, power and success in Dubai. Days after the sentencing, Kareem's father, Kareem Al Mansoor, collapsed in his mansion and was rushed to the hospital. The guilt and public shame had become too heavy to bear. He died a week later, leaving behind a legacy forever tainted by scandal. The Al Mansoor estate was seized, their businesses liquidated, and their name erased from several city projects they had once funded. In prison, Kareem lived in isolation, refusing interviews and cutting contact with the outside world. Guards described him as quiet, detached, and consumed by guilt he never admitted. At night, he was heard whispering to himself, replaying the same events that destroyed his life. Meanwhile, the abandoned Al Mansoor mansion stood empty, its walls covered in dust, windows dark, and garden overgrown. Locals began avoiding the area, calling it cursed. The story of the Al Mansoor family became a haunting urban legend, a tale whispered about betrayal, greed, and the illusion of perfection. What began as a life of privilege ended in ruin, proving that even the richest hearts can carry the darkest secrets.